Javier from Chile. Cage matches have always been my favorite type of match. What will you consider to be the 5 best and 5 worst matches inside cages in wrestling? I'm talking from a simple cage match to the Tower of Doom or Russo's Revenge. Is that like Montezuma's Revenge? I think I'd rather have Montezuma's Revenge than have Russo's Revenge. My favorite steel cage match ever is Bret Hart against Owen Hart at SummerSlam in 1994. My favorite Hell in a Cell match is the first one, Shawn Michaels against The Undertaker, 1997. My favorite War Games match is Wrestle War 92, Sting Squadron against the Dangerous Alliance. Okay, so that's 3 right there. Those are the 3 best cage matches, in my opinion, in wrestling history. War Games at Wrestle War 91 is another one I would have on my list. And of course, I have to include Mankind against The Undertaker, King of the Ring, Hell in a Cell. I mean, how could I not? So that's my top 5. Worst cage matches, the Doomsday cage match from WCW in 1996. I don't remember if it was Spring Stampede or Uncensored. It was one of those shows, but it was in 96. That's got to be number 1. Number 1, just worst, most god-awful fucking match. It was the Mega Powers against the Alliance to end Hulkamania. Every heel, every top heel in the promotion, and even some they brought in specifically for this angle. It was like 7-on-2. What a pile of shit this was. One of the most overbooked, illogical things that you will ever see. All to feed Hogan's bloated orange ego. You've got to have the Kennel from Hell on this list. Al Snow and the Big Boss Man from Unforgiven 99. I always enjoy thinking back to that match and having the Dobermans outside the ring. It was technically in between the 2 cages. It was a regular blue bar steel cage, and then over that, they put the Hell in a Cell. And so in between the 2 cages, it was almost like a dangerous pit. They had these dogs, and the idea was that the dogs would be rabid and they would be barking, and it's like, oh my God, you don't want to climb down, because if you climb down, you're going to get eaten up, right? But all the dogs wanted to do, I think, was basically like fuck each other, like hump each other. They were pissing in the corner. It was the whole thing was just a disaster. So that has to be on the list. How can I not cite Hell in a Cell 2019? Seth Rollins against The Fiend. If you are in the mood for a good rant, go find that review. It's got like 130 or 140,000 views on YouTube. People still bring that up to me. I'll throw Age in a Cage in there. Halloween Havoc 97, Hulk Hogan against Roddy Piper. What a contrast to go from Shawn Michaels against The Undertaker inside Hell in a Cell to later that same month, what we got from these two. And poor Randy Savage and his knees at the end coming off the top of that rickety ass cage. I still, to this day, I don't know what he was thinking. You got to go take a look at this cage. This cage, it was like the old blue bar WWF cages, but it wasn't made of metal or steel. It was a lot taller. It looked like bamboo. I know it wasn't, but like when I look at that cage, it reminds me of the Punjabi prison. Only it's got the squares, like the old blue bar cage did, but it was so much higher. And it was like swaying back and forth. It looked like rubber as Savage was climbing it. And he goes to the very top. And Savage, even at that point, was not a young man. He was not a young man. And to come off the top with that double axe handle, I don't know how he didn't break both his legs. You know how Adam Copeland came off the top of the cage at Double or Nothing and just, that was it? Like the leg just snapped. I don't understand how that didn't happen to Randy Savage. I really don't. And he did mess up his knees. But I mean, it's not like he broke anything. Like he still got up, but he took some bumps. But that whole match, just that whole thing was just garbage. And I'm going to go for number 5. I'm going to go Vince Russo against Booker T in a cage on Nitro in the year 2000. The match where Russo got speared through the cage by Goldberg and won the world title. As soon as you hear Vince Russo wins the world title, you already know it's in the top 5 worst things ever. I mean, they had given up by that point. WCW was unwatchable. Russo had no business being in the ring. I don't care how much heat he thought he was getting. He ended up with a major concussion from that Goldberg spear, which Conan has claimed was intentional. He says Goldberg told him before he went out there, watch what I do. Goldberg giving somebody a severe concussion, a career-ending concussion. There's something I've never heard before. Steve from Virginia. This is an interesting question. We'll end on this. What are your favorite movies or TV shows where these wrestlers turned actors played a role? And he lists a whole bunch of names here. So I'll just rattle right through this. Feel free to chime in with your thought. I'm sure many of you will disagree with me, but The Rock is at the top of the list here. I'm going with Doom, okay? And I'm not sitting here and I'm not telling you that Doom is an award-winning feature film. I'm just telling you that I enjoyed the movie and I enjoyed The Rock. I thought he was a great bad guy in that movie. And he wasn't even like the main character or anything necessarily, but for The Rock, I'm going to go Doom. And as far as movies where he's the lead star, I'm gonna name a movie you may not have seen or you may not have heard of, but it was a movie he was in earlier in his career called Snitch, where he goes undercover as a DEA agent to save his son. So it's not a comedy. It's a drama. It's a thriller. It's not a comedy. But I really enjoyed it, and I thought he did a really good job in that movie. So for The Rock, those are the two I would name. Batista. I enjoyed Batista's work. I thought he was the best part of that M. Night Shyamalan movie, Knock at the Cabin, which I did not think was a great movie, but Batista was easily the best part of it. That's the movie, by the way, where he really put on a lot of weight. He got kind of chubby, and that's why he's now lost all the weight, because he didn't like how fat he got. For those of you wondering why Dave looks so slender now, he lost a lot of weight because he put a lot of weight on, and I think he did it for that role. But I've seen him in a lot of different movies. Bushwick was another one, and he just has a lot of range. He has a lot more range than most wrestlers turned actors do. John Cena does too. But for Batista, I'm going to go with Stuber. I think I had more fun watching that. It's a comedy movie. I think what was the premise of it? I think he's like a federal agent or whatever who enlists the help of this Uber driver. Yeah, it's one of these action comedy type stupid movies, but I thought it was fun. So I'll go Stuber. John Cena. Now, I hear great things about Peacemaker, but I have not seen Peacemaker. I did see Ricky Stenicki, though, and I actually thought he was really funny. He was the highlight of that movie. He pretty much stole every scene that he was in. So I think I might go Ricky Stenicki for Cena. Roddy Piper. There was a movie he was in called Body Slam. I'm going to go with that. I think it came out in 86. One of those movies I saw quite a few times as a kid. Goldberg is on the list here. You think I'm going to say Santa's Sleigh, but you would be wrong. Goldberg actually had a cameo. It was brief, but he had a cameo on an episode of Law and Order Special Victims Unit, which I have seen nearly every episode of. A big fan of SVU. And Goldberg was in a scene at the precinct where he was just going nuts, and they used a stun gun on him, and they were just trying to subdue him. So that's what I remember him from. Hulk Hogan is on this list. I'm going to go Gremlins 2. I enjoyed his little cameo in the movie theater in Gremlins 2. He's sitting in there watching a movie, eating popcorn in his gear. In his bandana with the winged eagle belt. He's just sitting there watching a movie. If you've seen the scene, you know what the premise of it is. Adam Copeland is on this list. I honestly don't think I've ever seen him in anything. He did that show Vikings. I never saw it. I know he did a few movies. I don't think I've ever seen a single movie he's ever been in, so I can't even comment on that. Big Show. That's got to be Captain Insano in The Waterboy. You know, he keeps talking about Captain Insano and saying that we're going to see it on AEW television soon, so. Because Tony Khan bought the rights to the character and the name. So at some point, we're going to get Captain Insano on TV. Steve Austin is on the list here. You know, for Steve Austin, I have seen most, if not all, of the B movies that he has been in. And one of them, and maybe my favorite one, is called Hunt to Kill. He plays a Border Patrol agent in this one. And it has one of the hokiest closing scenes that you will ever see. Because the movie is called Hunt to Kill. And so I'll just spoil it for you. The big payoff here in the last scene. And the villain is like laughing. You're not going to do anything to me. And Austin, they get a close-up shot of his face. And he just goes, when I hunt to kill. That he kills him. Of like, oh, this is the kind of cheese that I could actually enjoy. So I might go Hunt to Kill, but the other thing I'll mention is his role in The Expendables. That was a great action movie. Just a testosterone-filled action movie. So many big names in that movie. And had to be an honor for him to be on the list of all the names in that movie. But he also broke Stallone's neck. Legit, in their fight scene. He broke Sylvester Stallone's neck. Obviously, it was an accident. I think it was when Stallone got like backed into a wall or something. And yeah, he broke his neck. He had to have surgery. And the last one on the list here, Jesse Ventura. Of course, I'm going to go Predator. How could it be anything else? He ain't got time to bleed.